So this shouldn't go more than an hour, hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, the floor. Well, you're gonna walk, probably you need to
You're on.
move it.
Okay.
However you want to start.
So Dr. Taj asked me to do a presentation on giving a quality presentation. And while I don't consider myself a subject matter expertise, like Mark, I've done it over and over. It's just with repetition and the amount of time. And I've got some experience, and I just wanted to share some techniques that have worked for me, and hopefully will give you guys some insight. So as you get ready to build your presentation, these are just some points to consider. You always want to structure your presentation commensurate with the audience you're presenting to. And one of the notes I wrote to myself was Sheldon Cooper. If anybody's watched Big Bang Theory, you've got this highly intelligent person who never seems to talk at the level of those around him. And it can come off kind of insulting sometimes. You may be the smartest person in the room, but you need to structure the content of your presentation to the target audience. So just kind of keep that in mind as you build your slides. And even as you give your presentation, just make sure you're, because if you're going to present to a junior high class, you probably don't want to have something that's at the collegiate level. So just something to think about. You want to pick out a clear message or a clear goal to what you want to accomplish. What's the purpose of the presentation? And build from there. Don't just kind of go at it from a scatter plot and hope to hit something. What's the objective? What do I want people to take away from this? And that's really something you build on. And as you structure it and go through, those are the things you want to kind of work towards. When I say know and understand the content, even if you're the smartest person in the room, sometimes being able to articulate that can be difficult. If you're presenting on material you're not overly familiar with, that can be even more challenging. So make sure you understand what you're presenting and be able to answer questions and go through it thoroughly at the end. And the last point on this particular slide is to rehearse. And the reason I say rehearse is there's several points to that. And the first of which is to make sure that you can deliver, you don't stutter, you don't stumble, but you want to, most presentations, you have an allotted time period. And if you are going for a 15-minute presentation and you end up going an hour, you've probably lost most people in the room. The interest has waned significantly, and you've probably gone off topic quite a few times and gone down a lot of rabbit holes that you probably shouldn't have. So rehearsing will help you get those times down. Rehearsing in front of either a camera or someone else who can help critique those points and give you some feedback will really help build that presentation. Next slide, please. As you do your slides, you can see that my slides are extremely simple. They're not busy. And what you don't want to do is fill your slides so much that no one's looking at you, they're paying attention to the slides. And that's the second point I'm going towards is that if you just use a bullet statement, use a word, use something to give you a key point to talk to. Because if you are filling the slide with a paragraph, with multiple sentences, instead of watching me, you're reading the slide, and then you come back to me like, what did you just say? And that's not the point of a slide. A slide is a tool to help deliver your presentation, help you emphasize points, give you talking points. So it's something that it's a good technique, and it's something to kind of, like I said, just to leverage. Contrasting colors. I've seen, I can't tell you how many presentations that maybe it looks good on your computer, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But to get up on the screen, you cannot possibly see what the content is because they've got blue font on a black background. You can't see it. It's difficult, especially from a long distance. Same thing with the large font. Make sure it's big enough. You don't want to. It's not an eye chart. Again, the point is to have just the minimum amount of content to your slide to give you something to talk towards. And the last point on there, keep it simple as part of the keeping the slide not so busy. You can put some animation, you can put some basic pictures, graphics, something in there to draw attention to certain points, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to make the slide so busy that it's distracting, that you lose focus on what it is you're trying to highlight. And with that, jump to the presentation itself. This young lady a little bit earlier said, "I'm nervous." Okay, well, you know, for a lot of people who haven't spent much time presenting, that's something that, you know, it's difficult to get up in front of people. But everyone, you know, or I don't want to say everyone, most people present at some point, especially in a college setting, in a work environment, and it's good to practice. This is an outstanding environment to practice in. This is a low-threat environment. No one is, you know, no one's out to fire you. You're not out to lose a bunch of money on a business deal. This is something where this is a learning environment. Take advantage of that and use this to your advantage to practice those skills, refine them, take feedback. So with all that in mind, look at the big red sign there. Just keep calm, take a deep breath, and just focus on what it is you're trying to accomplish. Just breathe, remain calm. Those are all my points up there. The last thing I have on there, and this is something I learned in the military a long time ago, is if you're nervous or you're lacking confidence in a particular subject and you're getting ready to give a presentation, it's always better to err. You don't want to yell, but just speak up. So it displays a little bit of confidence in what you're doing, and it helps keep people engaged. So if I'm talking, you know, and I'm in a real quiet voice, you're struggling to hear, you're going to lose interest. But if I say, you know, you want to make emphasis on something, you know, you really want to drive that point home, keep calm and take a deep breath. You know, use inflection, use those things, but it helps engage the audience you're trying to deliver to. Next, okay. If you've noticed throughout the entire presentation, I've tried to make eye contact with everyone in the room. Okay, I'm trying to engage you. I'm trying to make sure that you are understanding what I'm trying to tell you. And as I go across, now one thing that I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone, and that's because I'm on camera here, and that is that I typically like to wander back and forth, and that gives me a chance to walk up and look at somebody, and I can even ask you a question. Do you understand my point? And it gets you, you know, even if I'm just getting the north and south, it helps for me to understand that, you know, people are following what I'm saying. Maybe they're just giving me the deer in the headlight look, but at least I know that they're looking at what I'm trying to say, and I'm hopefully continuing to engage folks in the audience. This once, but I emphasize it. Use the slides as a guide. Don't read them. If I'm reading the slides, you're reading the back of my head. It's pointless. I might as well give you a handout and say, okay, what'd you guys get from reading that? Again, keep it simple. A few things just to follow along. Stay on topic. I've said this once, I'll say it again. That's why you rehearse. If you, for example, our presentations tonight are supposed to be roughly 20 to 30 minutes. That gives you a gauge. If you have 4 people, then, you know, figure out what your time is going to come in at. Okay, well, I should have 5 to 7 minutes per person. That gives our total delivery time and puts you in a ballpark. If you haven't rehearsed it and you haven't timed it, who knows what you're going to come out at? You might come out at 5 minutes, you come out in an hour. Again, it helps rehearse. The last thing, I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but engage the audience. Ask questions. Get people to give you some sort of feedback. You can always start with some sort of story. I talked about Sheldon Cooper at the beginning. It's to get people interested, get people to relate to what you're saying, so that, you know, there's some sort of familiarity. There's a back and forth. It's almost sometimes a nonverbal dialogue, just with the nonverbal language and things that are coming back as you're giving the presentation. And the last thing I'm just going to say is make your point and just drive home what you're trying to say. And that goes back to what's the purpose of your presentation. And once you figure that out, once you build everything through, you've rehearsed it, you've done your slides in a simple and creative way, and you work through your presentation, sum it up, make your point, drive it home, and you should have easily met your objective. And everyone should walk away from the presentation understanding what the purpose of what you were trying to articulate was, and walk away with a better I guess, grasp of the topic that you discussed. And with that, that's my closing point. So it was short and simple. I don't expect any questions, but I welcome them.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Dr. Taj, I hope that's what you were looking for.
Thank you, I appreciate, you know, we'll share this, you know, my